Tiểu đường là bệnh lý mà nhiều người sống trong thời đại công nghiệp rất dễ bị mắc phải. Bệnh này gây tổn thương âm thầm trên mắt, thậm chí có thể dẫn đến mù lòa nếu không được chẩn đoán và điều trị kịp thời. Và để hiểu rõ hơn về những tác hại của bệnh này, thì hôm nay chúng tôi sẽ có cuộc trao đổi với bác sĩ JD đến từ American Eye Center. Hello, Dr. JD.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
First of all, let me thank you for being here. But first question I want to ask you, November 14th is a very special day. Okay, so can you share with me this special day?
Yeah, November 14th is a special day because it's World Diabetes Awareness Day. And diabetes is one of the diseases which worldwide, but especially in countries like Vietnam, is still on the rise. So every year we see an increase of diabetic patients, but here in Vietnam, if you look at the numbers compared every 10 years, you have such a dramatic increase that, especially in countries like Vietnam, it's very important that we stress this day, that we use this day to make people more aware of it.
What is the reason behind that?
The most important reason is the changing of diets. If you look at a country like Vietnam, with the increased wealth, people have more money, you see dietary changes, so people eat more unhealthy foods.
More money to spend on unhealthy
More money to spend on unhealthy foods. They eat more meat. They use more sugar. And it starts at a young age. I mean, in the past, young kids would drink water or milk, and now it's sodas, it's Coca-Cola or other sugary drinks, which are, it's nice to have occasionally, but not every day.
I understand that you can get eye disease from diabetes, right? Can you share with me a little bit?
Eye disease, yes. Well, you have to know first what diabetes does. Diabetes affects the blood vessels in the body.
Right.
And there are several organs which are very susceptible to get problems because of that. One is the kidneys, but the other one are the eyes. And if the retina, which is the back of the eye, which is basically the film, the nervous layer which transmits the signal to the brains.
Okay.
If that gets affected because there's not enough circulation, not enough blood, meaning not enough oxygen, then the function decreases and you get problems.
Okay, so who are the people at risk? Old people?
The people at risk, of course, are people who have diabetes. And what we see in general is that after a number of years, and in general, it's about people have 10 years diabetes, that we start seeing changes in the eye. The problem is, of course, is that sometimes people come to us and they say, I have diabetes for 2 years, and we look in the eyes, and obviously they probably didn't know they had diabetes for a long time before that. So it's not necessarily when the people find out that they have diabetes, that's the day that they start getting diabetes. It's a lot of cases here in Vietnam are not detected. So a lot of people have complaints about diabetes, but they don't know that it's one of the symptoms.
Okay, for example, what are the symptoms?
For example, frequent thirst. Yeah, people who are frequently thirsty, or after a meal you're still hungry, or people inexplicably are tired, frequently, or blurred vision occasionally. Things like that. Those are general symptoms which might indicate that a person has diabetes.
So what is your experience in the treatment of eye disease relating to diabetes?
Okay, I use the last 20 years I've worked in an environment where we had a lot of diabetic patients. So I mean, and a lot. I mean, the population above 40, we had about 28% diabetic patients.
28%.
Yes, but that's above 40 years of age.
Okay.
So that's not in the general population. That's a aged group already. And so I used to treat quite a lot of diabetic patients. I cannot count how many surgeries I did. It must be in the thousands for diabetic complications.
Okay. So at the American Eye Center in Vietnam, share with me that what you have been doing to help people get better.
Well, in the American Eye Center, the reason I came to the American Eye Center is to help in retinal disease and retinal problems and surgery. And diabetes is one big aspect of it. I mean, for diabetes, I think it's important that you have a structured approach.
Structured approach.
Yes.
Can you clarify that?
And you don't start shooting with a big cannon, if you can shoot with a small gun.
Okay.
Right? I mean, you have to work with protocols. And I'm trained to work with protocols. I'm used to doing the necessary steps and not over-treating patients, but also not under-treating patients.
Can you share with me some kind of technology that you have been using?
Okay, so commonly nowadays what we use a lot is there are two basic treatments, medical and laser, and then a third one is surgery. The surgery is a special area, but the main two treatments are laser and medical. With laser we mean light, strong light, which burns inside the eyes the problem areas which are affected by diabetes, so the healthy areas can function more optimal.
How safe is it? It's very safe.
It's quite safe. I mean, laser is not a new therapy. What has changed a lot is the laser machines have improved a lot, so it's more predictable what you do, how much treatment you can give and do give. It's much more safe than it used to be 30 years ago.
Okay.
It's slightly different types of laser. And of course in the hands, everything is the hands of an experienced doctor. It works much better than the hand of an inexperienced doctor. If you do too much laser, you burn critical retina area, so you really damage the vision. But if you don't do enough, you don't cure the diabetic problems.
Right.
So, I mean, you have to strike a balance in it, and that requires experience. Right.
And you are...
I hope so, yes. Yes.
Okay. JD, so...
Quite a lot.
Yeah, thank you. Tell me something about what should you advise viewers to protect their vision and stay away from diabetes?
Well, if you talk about diabetic eye disease, I think what is very important is that people check up with their doctor on a regular basis.
Like annual checkup?
Like an annual checkup. I mean, if what we normally recommend, if once diabetes has been diagnosed in a patient, that they do a yearly eye checkup. And once we start seeing symptoms in the eye, we increase that frequency or do treatment, depending on what we see. A lot of times people don't have any complaints yet, but we can already see changes inside the eye that tells us, hey, this eye has diabetes.
So it's important that we have to do whatever to prevent, right, before it happens.
I prefer early treatment or prevention compared to when people come in with complaints. Mostly we have more problems, so the treatment is more intensive. It will also cost more.
Well, I understand that the cost of like the medical cost is very expensive. So is it affordable for like an average person?
It all depends on how you look at it. Let's say we didn't talk about the medical treatment of diabetes, and that is injecting specific medication into the eye, which is frequently used nowadays. The problem with that is it's not a permanent cure, so it's a temporary cure. For specific diabetes eye problems, it's a very good treatment, But if you look at the general diabetic problem, it's not a permanent solution. So you do have to repeat those injections quite regularly. It depends on which type of medication we're using. There are several on the market. Here in Vietnam, the most popular ones are what we call Avastin and Lucentis. If you look at Avastin, it's not that expensive, but if you look at Lucentis,
Very expensive.
it's quite expensive. So for the average person, it's even the Avastin might still be quite expensive.
Interesting. Well, I hope that everyone is getting better with their eating habit, right? This will help.
I think if you have diabetes and or are prone to have diabetes, if you change your eating habit, it can contribute a lot.
A lot.
Right.
Okay.
It's if you continue, what the mistake people make is say, okay, I take medication, but I can continue eating and drinking the way I used to eat and drink.
Okay.
That's the wrong approach. You should also adapt your lifestyle and your diet accordingly.
So what I do, I try to cut down my sugar and fast food. That's the two most important things.
Right. But you know, if you really are diagnosed with diabetes, then you should do more. Then you should eat smaller portions, more spread out over the day. What I always recommend people to do is, once you're diagnosed with diabetes, is visit a dietitian who can explain to you exactly which foods to avoid, how big the portions can be, how often you have to eat, and that helps a lot.
Okay.
And exercise, do sports.
Exercise, doing sport is very
That helps, yes.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. JD.
You're welcome.